Hey everybody, welcome back to Evan's Family Woodworking. Hey, it's Nate. I wanted to share with you real quick this morning one of the very first, and actually the very first project I ever made completely solo on my own. I didn't grow up making things with woodworking. I did grow up around a lot of carpenters, but I was also a brat growing up. And actually I'm sporting some little Razorback props to my parents, my sister and my family back in my home state. We live in the Midwest now, but my dad grew up in a carpentry family. My grandfather was a carpenter and a home builder. My uncle was also a home builder, and another uncle who I lived right next door to was a cabinet maker and an amazing woodsmith. And I was inspired when we bought our home about 4 years ago to create something for my wife. We had the workspace. I'd never had that kind of workspace before, and I was excited to man up and try to make something for my wife. And I had this snowman Scarecrow picture kept popping up on my Facebook feed. And it was like a sponsored ad for Pinterest or something like that. And I kept seeing it over and over and over all summer long after we moved in. And so, and that was in 2016. And so about September of 2016, I came across a broken pallet, and it only had a handful of slats on it. And I just had this thought of, hey, I'm gonna give that Scarecrow guy a shot. And I'll show it to you here in a second, but I just wanted to tell you, you don't have to have a ton of tools to do a pretty good job of crafting and creating some lifetime artwork that you can use around your house or to bless somebody in your life. Because I remember just how excited and impressed my wife was that I actually did something right. Don't tell her that. But I started out with just two tools. I had an old Black & Decker hand drill, and I had my father's, a borrowed Black & Decker skill saw to cut the pallet up. And I didn't use the tape measure. All I did was cut the pieces and just in my head go, okay, this is how I think it should look, and put it together. And I didn't have any stain at all. I didn't have any paint to get when I first got started. And so I had asked one of my neighbors, hey, do you have a little bit of stain? And he was like, yeah, I've got a half a jar or almost a full gallon of old deck stain. You can have it and mix it up. It's fine. Just take it. We used that deck stain the entire fall that year. We did 2 or 3 craft shows and sold probably about 100 of these things in about 4 months. So it was fantastic. And it was actually this project that we started the business with, because after I made it for my wife, my oldest daughter, who at the time was looking for a job but wasn't really ready to go to the grocery store or get a job at a restaurant, but she wanted something to do and she was willing to work for it. And she came to me after she saw what I made my wife and Rachel, and she said, I want to help you make those and we'll sell them. And we talked about it, and I prayed about it, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And the next day we asked around. We went to our local hardware store and got some more pallets. Make sure you ask somebody for permission before you take their pallets, by the way. Lesson learned, hard lesson learned, but make sure you ask for permission. And then we just got started, and we started ripping pallets, and I didn't know what I was doing at all. And I remember calling my uncle Harold, and sadly he passed away a little while back, but he really inspired me. And I called him, and he's like, oh, you need to do this, this, and this, and this. And we just rolled with it, and with a skill saw and a hand drill. And those were our tools. And God blessed us with neighbors who have way more skill and talent than I do with craftsmen. As a matter of fact, the 5 or 6 houses around me, 4 of them are master crafters. They're amazing men, and they're all amazing godly men that were placed in our lives, in my life, to inspire me. And just a little down the road, there's 2 or 3 other guys who have just poured into my family and my life and inspired me to do the things I've done with this business. So let me show you what we did. It's just a really quick tutorial, and we'll go from there. So here's our little scarecrow, and there's a snowman on the back side. I'll flip it around in a second. This is actually the original gift I made Rachel back in the day. I used some deck stain that I borrowed from my neighbor Bill down the street, and I went down to our local Michael's and asked around about paint pens because I like to do cartoony stuff. I like to doodle at work. I'm a school teacher, and I just grabbed some real quick Sharpie markers, some paint pens at Michael's, and we got a couple other paints to go with it, and we just went to town on this. This one's been through a few winters, actually 4 or 5 winters now, and so he's not quite together the way that he was when we first started, but he it was the thing that inspired my oldest Hallie to come to me and got this whole thing started in the first place. So let me flip him around real quick and show you his buddy on the other side. Now the paint, eventually, if you get it smudged, the paint pens, these Sharpie paint pens, the reason this one's smudged have to do because I stored it in here in the garage for so long, but they held up pretty well. The Sharpie pens I was pretty impressed with. And every now and then I'll see one from a family. My wife's grandmother has one outside of her house still to this day. And it's a little worn. But their winters are a little rougher than ours. So, but for the most part, the white, that's just the fence paint. And so is the black. It's just a Rust-Oleum outdoor paint. And it was just really, really simple. You'll notice that I did not paint the inside because I didn't even think, no one from the street even cares. Matter of fact, the very first time I didn't even paint the top because I wasn't even paying attention to it. So I'll get down here a little bit closer just to show you a close-up. These are just deck screws I got down at our local hardware store. I just wanted to get a screw that would be okay outside for so long. And I didn't even, like I said, didn't even measure. I just took an idea, and with the pallet boards, all you gotta do is just line them up so that you don't see the other one on the other side. So from the street level, you have no idea there's a scarecrow on the other side. And then all of a sudden, it's like a magic trick. Voila, there's a scarecrow. Now, like I said, we've made a ton of these in the past. We actually got a little more creative with a couple ideas that we saw online. We've had Easter Bunny with a leprechaun on the backside, or a heart on that Cupid kind of character on the backside. I have a turkey with Santa Claus on the back. That sold really well in the fall, and a lot of people really like that. Now you can spruce it up. You want to get a really, really crafty, and you want to put something around it, some hay bales or something like that around that. Some of the ones we've seen here in town are huge. So I've seen some people make their own, and they make some really big ones. This guy's about 2.5 feet tall. He's really not that big. I actually ended up making several that were just 1 or 2 slats. So they're like tall, skinny snowmen or tall, skinny scarecrows, which is pretty much what I am. And personally, and minus the, no brain too. And we sold a lot of those. And we made a lot of people really, really happy with a very simple project. Hope you like it. Hope you enjoy this tutorial. If you need anything from us, please let us know. You can click subscribe right up here, and you can follow us on our other videos on the other side of that. Hey, God bless you. Take this day to go out and bless someone else. Have a great day.